why should I deny it? We're talking about a rather illustrious patient here, who's also a very particular medical case.
Now, that's much more interesting. So, are you willing to talk about him?
Because Albert, regrettably, has disappeared, and you are police detectives, I have no reason not to talk to you. Of course, I'm at your service, but you must understand, I can't disclose information about my patients.
Not even if it's a matter of life and death?
Everything's a matter of life and death in here, detective. This is a hospital, even if it's primarily for the mind, not the body.
Still, I'd like to give the impossible a try.
Please, detective, just do your job and I'll do mine.
Ich frage mich halt noch immer, was Albert mit Natascha zu tun hat. Also, ob es einen Grund gibt, weswegen er umgebracht werden sollte. Name, Dr. Seuss, Quetzalcoatl. Also, das kennen wir ja schon. Das haben wir ja schon alles. Ach ja, wir haben noch eine Information zu Albert. Das könnte der Volltreffer sein, den wir suchen. Albert Wessler ist aus dem Sanatorium verschwunden. Aber warum?
How long was Albert a resident of the institution?
For quite some time, his first symptoms surfaced in his teens. Depression, panic attacks, and schizophrenia.
Was he brought here immediately after the first signs that something wasn't right?
You know, the biggest problem with an opinion on insanity is that animals are ashamed of it. That's the reason our institution stands out here in the middle of nowhere.
Because animals would rather hide what they're afraid to face.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
As far as I know, the Wessler family wasn't exceptionally wealthy.
Indeed, they were rather poor, but we offer our services gratis.
Then how do you sustain yourselves?
Gute Frage.
The grace of the treasury of King Hector III, of course.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
My family and the royal dynasty had always been on good terms, Mr. Santino.
What kind of a place is this exactly? I assume it wasn't built as an insane asylum.
It used to be a mansion. Construction started during the occupation in 622. Then it stood empty for almost a century, until finally it went to the crown of Cloville when Hector's great-grandfather took the throne. The rest is history.
How long have you been working?
Okay, also wir können ihn ja jetzt vernehmen. Wir machen mal die Vernehmung, würde ich sagen. Erst gucken wir uns noch die Einträge an. Person. Die Familie des Professors verwaltet die Nervenheilanstalt und das umliegende Grundstück seit mehr als 100 Jahren. Ein recht beeindruckendes Stück Geschichte, nicht wahr? Und etwas Neues in den Kodex. Ja. Seit der Gründung wurde erst einmal der Versuch unternommen, den Stadtstaat von Cloville zu erobern. Die etwa ein halbes Jahrhundert dauernde Besatzung begann 622 und hielt bis 677 an. In dieser Phase übernahm das Imperium von Harra die Kontrolle über fast alle Gebiete von Cloville. Unbesetzt blieben nur die Kolonien, denen es letzten Endes im Bund mit Svolaso und Vlavoslawien gelang, die Stadt zurückzuerobern. Warum zum Fix so anstrengende Namen? Wir vernehmen den Herrn mal.
Dr. Quetzal's a real mystery, but I can turn that to my advantage. I just need to focus on the strangest pieces of the puzzle.
Ist geheimnisvoll.
When did Albert become a resident of your institute?
Albert and Hobart, or Ibn as you call him, arrived here almost exactly 4 years ago.
Could you describe that day more specifically?
It was not long after New Year's Eve, maybe the first week of the year, if I'm not mistaken. mistaken. It was sleeting that day. Wind was banging incessantly on the windows. The power was going out for short periods of time.
What was your first impression of them?
I already knew the Wessler name. I knew who they were. Or at least I knew one of them, Hobart Wessler. He was famous. Gangster, moneylender, celebrity, lover.
And Albert?
He was new to me, an invisible grey ghost.
Mal ganz kurz so eine kleine Zwischenfrage oder Zwischengedanke. Wenn ich jetzt davon ausgehe, dass Albert zum Beispiel komplett verliebt in Natascha war und deswegen Whore und so weiter auf die Wand schrieb, weil er eifersüchtig ist, da sein Bruder jetzt mit ihr zusammen ist. Ist es wirklich möglich? Ich meine, wir haben von Dr. Bubo erfahren, dass Eben Wessler seinen Bruder über alles liebt und nichts über ihn steht. Hat er ihn deswegen umgebracht? Ist die Liebe zu Natascha so stark, dass er seinen eigenen Bruder umbringt?
Why?
Das wäre ja ekelhaft.
Because they were ashamed of him, of course, Mr. Sutherland. That's how it usually is.
What was your first impression of him?
He was silent, but observed everything that surrounded him. His eyes were constantly moving, never stopped for a second.
Was he afraid?
I wouldn't say so. It seemed to me that he wanted to move into our institution voluntarily. It looked as if he couldn't wait to be here, alone, locked up in silence and darkness.
Didn't you think of that as unusual?
Of course I did, but who am I to judge? It was rather special treatment.
Sagen Sie, hat Eben Wessler Sie in irgendeiner Form bedroht? Welche Art spezielle Behandlung erhielt Albert?
What kind of special treatment did Albert get?
You know, if an institution like ours has to accept a Wessler as a guest, there's bound to be some favoritism.
And complete secrecy, I guess.
Yes, but that's the case for all our patients, Mr. Featherland.
Of course. So in what way did he receive more than the others?
Basically, we don't admit anyone into our institution without a complete and thorough prior assessment. In the case of Albert, we put that aside.
So you didn't even know if he had anything wrong with him?
Initially, no. He was more of a guest than a patient.
How did you see Albert when you first met?
Albert was shy and reserved, like a ghost. He almost never touched anything. It was evident he was exceptionally intelligent. He measured and observed everything around him.
What else?
He was delicate and graceful, almost like a woman. Yes. He was rather feminine. He was an artist, Mr. Featherland.
Why did he have to be locked up?
I asked the same thing at first.
Are you telling me Albert had multiple personalities?
We found out very quickly that there was no other reason for the cause of his seizures. He had a cold and calculating personality who sometimes, especially on stormy days, took the reins over their shared mind.
He had these seizures from the beginning.
Yes, Mr. Featherland, but they started to intensify after Albert left our institution for the first time.
He did what? Left the institution? More than once?
Oh, yes, Mr. Featherland. Albert left the institution on several occasions until the last time, when he failed to come back.
Quetzal's not only very observant, but he's addicted to details. I must focus on that if I want to get closer to the truth. So Albert could just walk in and out.
Far from it, Mr. Featherland, though Mr. Hobart Wessler had appeared on many occasions and took Albert with him. At those times, he usually brought him back the same day.
Er leidet unter Depressionen, Panikattacken und Schizophrenie und er darf einfach so von seinem Bruder abgeholt werden und erst sogar am nächsten Tag zurückgebracht. Okay.
Albert Wessler was working on a painting, Mr. Featherland.
Oh, yes, the painting. It's all starting to come together now.
So, you've heard about the painting?
Sure I have.
Aha.
Did Albert tell you about his relationship with his brother?
Rarely. He respected and loved his brother, but when he came to talk, he was usually angry.
Oh, why?
Oh, fear, jealousy, frustration, rivalry, maybe all of these combined.
So Albert left on many occasions to continue working on the painting.
Exactly, Mr. Featherland. Every time he came back, he was like a different person. But unfortunately, his seizures also multiplied and became more dangerous.
More dangerous.
Also er ist gefährlicher geworden und trotzdem ließ man ihn raus.
And on one occasion, he even tried to hurt me. It was unprecedented. It seemed his confined personality was taking over their shared mind entirely, piece by piece.
Do you think the painting caused it?
Not the painting.
Wir wissen ja nicht, wie alt die Leiche ist. Wir wissen nur, Zip musste für ihn Wessler eine Leiche verstecken. Jetzt mal blöd gefragt, was ist, wenn die Leiche gar nicht der Bruder ist, sondern ihm Wessler?
But its subject.
Mal blöd gesagt und dieses Armband eben reingebracht wurde, falls es gefunden wird, dass es darauf hindeutet, dass es Albert ist. Der Not doof.
Exactly happened that day, Doctor.
It wasn't Hobart who brought his brother back that day, but two of his gorillas. Not literally, I mean. And Albert was in a terrible, terrible state.
What happened to him?
I don't like to talk about that, Miss.
It could be vital to the case, Dr. Quetzal. Don't back down.
Oh, you're right. There's no use turning back now. So, Albert's tongue was torn out or cut off, I don't know exactly. And he
Okay.
was blinded in one eye, or rather, one of his eyes was missing.
So you're saying Albert was brought back horribly mutilated?
Yes. And they didn't give any explanation as to what had happened. They simply told me it was some kind of accident.
Und das wird so in Ordnung gebracht. Also da sagt man, okay, ja, ist halt so, ne?
Maybe it's cruel, but I must exploit his vulnerability if I want to learn everything about Albert. The two fellas who brought Albert back,
Those two fellas, as you put it, were two remarkably huge, rude men.
a ram and a bobcat, perhaps?
No, one of them was a tiger, if I remember correctly. He had a rather fresh bump under his left eye, and the other one was a penguin. But I've never seen a penguin that big in my entire life.
Did they tell you anything besides it was an accident?
They didn't say anything, but gave an obvious signal that I had to keep quiet about.
I see. Concentrate, Doctor. What do you think happened to Albert?
I'm sure it was Hobart. He ordered his men to mutilate poor Albert.
But why would he do that?
Maybe Albert saw something he could accidentally reveal.
To whom? The four walls? A couple of crazies?
To anyone, Mr. Featherland.
I don't think it's that simple, Doctor. But thank you for your honest opinion.
You're welcome, Detective.
Okay, also Albert wurde verletzt. Dann ist es halt doch nicht das, was ich dachte.
How did Albert disappear?
A few weeks later, Hobart came to visit Albert one more time. Albert had been in terrible condition by then. We even had to transfer him to another cell, a more safe one.
What did Hobart do during the visit?
He didn't do anything. He just sat and watched his brother, who was in an almost vegetative state by then.
Couldn't you manage to draw anything out of him? You or Hobart?
Nothing. For a while he was trying to signal something. Perhaps he was too afraid. And most likely his fingers had been broken too, so he couldn't even write.
Do you think Hobart could have killed Albert?
It's horrible to say it, but I'm sure of it.
How did he disappear in the end? Did someone come for him?
That's what's most eerie about it all, Mr. Featherland. He simply disappeared. His door, which only I had a key for, was open.
Did anyone see anything?
No one. We interrogated the staff, even the patients. He simply vanished off the face of the wilderness.
Unfortunately, I have a hunch. Thank you, Doctor. You've been a great help.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could be of help. But please, I now must attend to my work.
We understand, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay, ich bin ein brauchbarer Kopf, kann man lassen. Wir haben wieder neue Hinweise. Also einen Hinweis und mehr Informationen. Albert Wessler ist verschwunden. Wir haben einen Verdacht, was mit ihm passiert sein könnte. Lieben hat höchstwahrscheinlich seinen eigenen Bruder Albert Wessler auf dem Gewissen und er zwang Sip dazu, die Leiche zu beseitigen. Jedenfalls scheint das derzeit die plausibelste Erklärung zu sein. Uns fehlt der Grund noch. Er ist gefühlskalt, reserviert und in seinem Fachgebiet absolut professionell, aber was Albert widerfahren ist, hat selbst ihn erschüttert. Eigentlich nicht überraschend, finde ich. Alberts Bruder Eben nahm ihn mehrfach aus dem Sanatorium mit, damit er das ominöse Bild von Natascha malen konnte. Meine Herren, ich glaube, wir haben ein Motiv. Weil er Natascha gemalt hat. Das war der Grund.
Neither can we.
You can't imagine how wonderful it is that I can help you in one of your cases. Does this mean it will become a new book? And maybe I will be in it?
Miss, those books aren't really...
Don't even tell me. No, I don't want to know. Let it be a surprise instead.
No, I didn't mean...
Leave it to me, Sonny. I'm good at this. Thank you, miss. Your words are very flattering, and we are honored.
No, I thank you. I'll never forget this day.
We won't either, that's for sure.
We're happy to bring you joy, miss. Anytime.
Können wir ihn fragen, ob er uns zum Zimmer bringt?
I think you understand why we kept it a secret. If it wasn't for Mr. Wessler's demand, we'd never let any of our patients walk freely outside our institution.
Then the accident happened.
Accident? Ha! We didn't believe it, not for a second. After Albert came back to us, horribly mutilated, he was different.
Different how?
If someone got one of his eyes poked out and his tongue torn out, he'd be different, but not like this. Albert was a different person.